Good morning, students. My name is Seetunya, and I'm working as assistant professor in the Department of Civil Engineering. And today I'm going to teach you about the subject Railways, Airport, and Harbour Engineering. So this is a secondary subject in related to transportation engineering. This subject we're going to deal in 4-2 semester. So now, in today's class, I'll start with the introduction of the subject, the course objectives, and the course outcomes. And after that, we'll dive into the topic, the factors which are affecting the site selection when you are going to select for an airport. So, in the next lectures, we'll cover about the correction factors of the runway and etc. So, so basically, this subject, so the objectives of railways and airport engineering is to deal with the characteristics of airports. So, what are the different types of aircrafts? So, what is the different types of engines? The characteristics like the runways, the taxiways, which are related with the operations of aircrafts, like the operations like taking and landing, this kind of operations. So, in the unit one, the first course objective is to design airport design. So, okay, so what are the factors, including from the site selection to windows diagram to represent the direction, velocity, and other factors of the wind, and runway and taxiway, and knowing the differences between a runway and taxiway design, and the runway orientation. So the runway orientation will be taking with the help of windows diagrams. So that is along which direction should we plan the runway, so that the operations like landing and takeoff will take a minimum power consumption, a minimum power usage, this kind of thing, the length, grading, and drainage facilities. And in the same unit and the later on units will also deal with railways. So in this we'll be dealing with railway components, so like rails, sleepers, ballast, these kind of fastenings, these kind of things. And further we'll go into geometric factors, geometric design of a railway track, the super elevations, the cant efficiencies which we have to provide for, so the design factor of a railway track, and other kind of things. And also railway signaling system like railway signal design, and automated systems like railway interlock system, and also will deal with metros and these kind of things in the further units. And at the last we'll be dealing with the design factors and classifications between harbors and ports, and what are the different types, design factors, what are the things to be maintained in a harbor and port. These will be learned at the end of this course. So these are the three objectives or main objectives of this subject. And the course outcomes, the students will be able to go for design of runways and taxiways. So the student can able to understand and able to go for design of a runway by applying corrections to runways basing on the altitude, depending based on this temperature corrections, airport reference temperatures, and these kind of things. And after that he can go for the infrastructure for large and small airports. So there's a classification between airports, which is a domestic airport, a large like large airport, and also a bigger airport, smaller airports. So these kind of things, and crossings and signals. So the student can also understand and view the design of a geometric of a railway track, and he can able to go for a design of a railway crossing systems. So railway and even when a student is going for road transportation, road design, he can also use this railway crossing system. That means when a railway track is being crossed and with a road, so what are the things, the particular design requirements the particular designer has to go through with respect to railway crossings and road. These kind of things can be also be understand here. And also the track maintenance and operation, like interlocking systems, these kind of things the student could be able to understand. And after that, so the projects and infrastructures, like when you're going for a new port or a harbor, what are the requirements for selecting any site to be a port or harbor, these kind of things, everything can be learned as an outcome in this thing. So these are the outcomes of this particular subject, and this is the syllabus. So in the first syllabus, you're going to talk about airport characteristics, introduction of it, site selection. So this is the topic which we are going to talk about in today's lecture. These are the different other topics we'll discuss later. So so the first thing, what are the different surveys? So initially, before selecting any site for an airport, unless like a bus stand and railway station, the factors which we are taking for an airport are far advanced than compared to other type of transports like bus stands and other kind of things. So initially we had to conduct some surveys, so which includes we should be able to understand, we should be able to have an estimation of our future traffic. So what is the present traffic for which we are designing the airport, and what is the traffic that we are going to design in future. So we can use some arithmetic methods or geometric methods, arithmetic geometric progression, these kind of methods. With help of these, we can able to estimate the population, air traffic population in the next 2 decades, so that we can leave some extra space for future expansion of the airport, or else now itself we can go for design of the airport for the further next 2 decades also. For that thing, the very first thing is to conduct traffic survey. So here we should be able to determine the amount of traffic we're expecting now, and the anticipated traffic we are expecting in the next few 2 to 3 decades of the period. And meteorological survey. So meteorological survey plays an important and crucial role when you are selecting a site for airport or this thing, because the presence of snow and heavy rainfalls can obstruct the flow and the operations of the airport. When there is a lot of fog happening in the atmosphere, it can affect the visuality of the aircraft. So in during that scenarios, taking and landing scenarios will take a lot of problems. So that's why we had to check the what we call this fog condition and other kind of intensity, and also intensity of the wind. So while determining the runway orientation, the intensity, velocity and direction of the wind plays a crucial role. Unless we are not following this, we'll have to face the consequence called crosswinds. And because of this crosswinds, so many of the time the landing process will take a dangerous zone. So in some cases, it can either lead to an accident also. So for that, we need to follow the windrose diagram pattern to determine the runway orientation. And for that purpose, we need to have a meteorological survey for having all the data. And for this meteorological survey, we can determine, we can use the past 30 to 40 years of wind data of that particular site in order to determine the velocity of the wind. So that means at what speed the wind is traveling at, and the direction of wind, so the orientation, so at which direction the wind is flowing, whether it is flowing from east to west or west to east or north to south, or what are the direction it is, in order to find out that, uh, and also the duration and which direction and at what velocity. So what is the duration of the wind, so how long the particular wind is traveling in that direction, or how long that particular wind is traveling at that particular intensity. So these are the some of the things we have to concentrate on the meteorological survey. So among all the different factors, meteorological survey plays a very crucial role when determining the, so meteorological survey is a very crucial factor while determining the site selection. And the next one is topographical survey. So the topographical survey. So in order to prepare a contour map showing the natural features. So basically, whenever you're going for an airport selection, for in the runway in an airport should be free from obstructions, whether it is a natural made obstructions or man-made obstructions, whatever it is, it should be free from any such kind of obstruction. So obviously in the preliminary survey we had to make sure, in the topographic survey of that area, we had to make sure, we had to select a such particular location that where it is free from trees and streams and these kind of things, valleys, mountains, hills and these kind of things. So that can help us in abstracting the abstract reduce removing this obstructions. And also constructed to prepare a map showing constructed objects as pole lines, buildings, same thing, which is our man-made abstractions. And the soil survey. So soil survey plays a crucial role in any kind of civil construction, not just an airport. So in order to determine the load bearing of the runway or load bearing of a taxiway or whatever it is very preliminary thing to go for a soil survey. So what is the torsion of the soil, what is the bearing capacity of the soil, and the porosity and permeability factors of the soil, all these factors has to be considered while we are preliminary going for site selection or when we are going for construction. And the drainage survey. So another important thing is, whenever we are expecting higher rainfalls, we have to make sure that the run water is not being clogged on the runways or on the parts of the airports. For that, we should have a proper drainage system and nearby water bodies which can able to collect all the excess water being stored or clogged on the airport runways. So for that, we need to understand the amount of quantity of stock water that can be stored, that can be traveling towards the runway initially, so that uh, these can be diverted into a natural streams which are near to the airport. So having a proper drainage survey, and this kind of one kind of survey we had to do. And the next one is the material service, the materials which we are using for the construction of the runway, construction of the aprons, taxiways, these kind of things. What are the materials which we are using for the construction? Material in the sense, we had to check the quality. So we had to use a first class grade of quality of materials, whether it is a fine aggregate or coarse aggregate, whatever it is. Then whatever the materials which we are using, the material should have an efficient grade A quality of factors. So these are the surveys which we have to done before selecting a site. And these are some of the traffic needs. So in the previous slide, as I told you, traffic survey is an important factor. So here in this slide, so this particular slide shows you the what are the different type of things we have, the traffic service. Okay, so what are the future traffic needs we have to estimate? These are the things we'll be showing here. So annual passenger volume. So an average for 1 year annually, what is the maximum passenger volume we are receiving for that particular airport? So we should have an analysis of this, and also we should able to understand, we should be able to estimate our annual passenger volume for the next 2 decades. Similarly, traffic volume of aircraft. So volume of aircraft, similar just like the passenger volume, as the passenger volume is being increased, so based on that, the number of aircrafts operating in that particular airport also increases. Example, in the starting of the if the starting time of the airport, if the particular airport is dealing annually um, like something around 2 lakhs per year. So the number of aircrafts operating in that particular airport may be something around 200 to 300. But if the particular traffic volume has been increased to 10 lakh, So the same quantity of 200 to 300 flights annually is not able to fit this particular 10 lakh population. So similarly, as the population is increasing, so the aircraft population, the number of aircrafts being operated in that airport is also increasing. So when these aircrafts are increasing, we need more space to for the parking facility of such aircrafts in aprons and this kind of thing. So we had to make sure that are actually taking into consideration of this increase in the aircraft, so that we are doing a proper facility for that aircrafts also, for parking facility and operation facilities of that aircraft also. And the peak day and peak hour volumes of passengers at aircraft, as you know, so the traffic may be varying from different time zones and different days and months of the year. For example, if you're taking on a peak day, so peak day in the sense, so out of all the 7 days, we may notice that a peak day of traffic flow in the weekends. So many people are traveling to their hometowns or for going for vacation and other purpose. So the weekday of a Saturday and Sunday may be noticing higher amount of traffic uh, passenger volume compared to the other volumes. So we should be able to respond to such peak hour volumes also at the time, and also peak hour and this peak day, there may be a timings where the traffic volume has been going to peak hours in that particular 24-hour of plan. So the airport should be in such efficient way that it should be able to go for go for this peak day and peak hour volumes. And after that, so the next thing we have to consider is air cargo and air mail. So many facilities, renewable sources which we are going through transporting through cargo, air cargo. So the airport should be able to facilitate this cargo facilities and mail facilities and general aviation like chartered flights and these kind of things. The airport should also have able to provide facilities for these facilities also. So these are the different things we need to take into consideration for estimating the traffic volume service in the further future studies. So, right, jumping into the main topic, the site selection factors. So, talking about the site selection factors for an airport, the very first thing is regional plan. So, what is this regional plan? Is we have to make sure that the particular site which we are selecting for the airport should fit well in the regional plan. So, if this is the regional plan of that particular airport, the airport should either be inside the regional plan or on the boundaries, but not on the exterior part of the regional plan. So when you're talking about the airport use, so we have to make sure that, but be sure of what is the purpose of the airport use. So I mean the purpose of that particular airport, whether we are using it for civil aviation purpose like domestic airports or international airports, or whether it is a military base or whether it is a training camp. So different kind of usage of airports requires different type of character requirements. So if it is a military base, we have to make sure that the particular site is such a hidden gem that during the time of wars, for air attacks, we should have natural facilities like bushes which can help us in hiding the aircrafts and jets. And also the particular civil aviation aircrafts which we are using in, we should be able to turn into a war, a particular military base at the time of requirements. So see the requirements things. And proximity. So proximity is the distance between two consecutive airports. So when you are taking this, for this VFR conditions like visual flight ratios and IFR instrumental flight ratio, for these purposes we had to make sure that there is a good quantity of range of distance between two airports, and these are the particular requirements which is given by the ATC. So for general aviation, like for small aircrafts, a minimum of 3.2 kilometers, that is 2 miles of distance apart, should be maintained. And for two piston aircrafts, 4 miles of distance is maintained or required. And for domestic flights, this kind of things where we are using operate piston engine, one piston engine, a minimum requirement of 16 miles is required. And whereas where you are using a jet engine aircraft, in this kind of scenario, a minimum of 100 miles is required for a range distance between two consecutive airports. And ground accessibility. So, going to the airport should not be a big task for the commoner or the traffic user. So, the particular site should be in such a way that the accessibility to the passengers from regular spaces, from the center of the city and these kind of places should be good quality and quantity, having a good facilities like buses, taxis, and metro trains, these kind of things. And topography, as we discussed earlier in the surveys. So we should have less obstruction at the approach zones and turning zones for this particular runways and drainage facilities. So the particular site should be in such a way that it is not too low lying area, because low lying areas can attract more amount of quantity of storm water. So obviously we have to make sure that it should have a proper natural drainage system and it is not attracting a quantity of drainage water towards it. And also uniform wind, and to avoid this problem of crosswind components, we have to make sure that the particular site which we are selecting is having a uniform wind instead of irregular wind patterns in that particular area. And better visibility, that means the particular area which we are selecting should have a better visibility factors even during the time of fog conditions and winter conditions also. Obstructions. So the particular site which we are selecting should be free from both natural and man-made obstructions, whether it is a hill, mountain, or poles or buildings and this kind of things. Visibility. So whenever, in order to have a proper visibility, we should, for that purpose, we're making sure that we don't have a obstructions. Like so, whenever there is a poor visibility in the traffic range, that can affect to the operation conditions of the aircraft, right? So noise nuisance. So during the taking and landing conditions of the aircraft, it creates a lot of noise and it can affect the hearing and the strength of the buildings of the neo thing. So we have to make sure that the particular runways are far from the domestic civil people so that it is not affecting the noise or health of the people. Future development. So as we discussed in the previous slide, so the particular airport site which we are selecting should be able to uh, overcome, should be able to facilitate the people, facilitate the aircraft, and facilitate the air traffic, passenger traffic, even for the next few decades, as we are expecting, as we are doing the estimation of the traffic in future also. And availability of utilities from the town. So in order to have a proper smooth run of the airport, we should have facilities like electricity lines and water pipelines and other kind of things. So these kind of facilities, utilities, telephones, sewer, water supply, electricity, all these facilities are properly provided for the airport, which are running from the main city of the thing. So these are the factors that we have to majorly consider for the airport site selection. And after this, so once you are done with the airport site selection, the next thing you have to discuss is about the runway and factors affecting runway And after taking a basic runway length, what are the corrections you have to apply so you can have a proper corrected runway length? So this topic we will discuss in deeply in the next video. Thank you.